Hey everyone, so chapter 900 just dropped, and somehow, even 80 chapters into Whole Cake Island, we still don't know how Big Mom is going down. It's clear that the cake isn't going to literally take her to heaven at this point, so what, is Blackbeard gonna swoop in? Are the Marines gonna swoop in? Is Luffy gonna beat her 1v1 later on? I think in classic Oda fashion, the correct answer is something we're not expecting at all. I think the correct answer is something bigger, grander, more exciting than we as the readers have even been speculating about so far. I think the conclusion to this Versus 4 Emperor's saga will involve not just the samurai and the beast pirates, not just the Straw Hats and their allies, not just the supernovas, but I think the purpose behind the Whole Cake Island arc was to bring the Big Mom pirates into that conflict as well. Now at this point, maybe some of you are thinking that I should stay away from theories in general because this is stupid, but I ask that you please hear me out, stick with me till the end, and it might make more sense than you think. First, let me explain what I think is going to happen. I think that despite what we saw last chapter, the Straw Hats are going to escape from Whole Cake Island. I think that after everything that happened this arc, Big Mom's hate for the Straw Hats will be such that she would pursue them to the ends of the earth to crush them if need be. As such, I think the conflict of Whole Cake Island will spill over to Wano, as the Straw Hats unknowingly bring a second angry Yonkou there. I think Wano progresses as such. I think it is an extremely long arc, a three-way war between Kaido's side, the Straw Hats and their allies, and Big Mom's side. I think the arc will end with the Straw Hats first defeating the Big Mom pirates, and then the Beast pirates. I think after the dust settles, the saga ends with Luffy indisputably positioned as an emperor himself, and one of the final contenders for Pirate King. Sound ridiculous enough? Sounds like some baseless fanfiction? Alright, let's explain why I've come to this conclusion, and see if I can convince any of you. I'm going to try and break it down in 6 parts. To begin with, I know that at the time that I'm posting this, after chapter 900, it seems as though the Straw Hats have basically been annihilated along with their ship. Do I know how they survived? No, but I don't think that's relevant to this theory. For this theory, I'm going to make the assumption that the Straw Hats are not dead, which I think is a pretty safe assumption, and that they're ultimately going to be escaping from Tata Land. I don't think this arc ends with them as prisoners of Big Mom, because then the story kind of grinds to a halt. Now that being said, let me break down why I don't buy the common predictions for how Big Mom is going down. Is Big Mom going down this arc? I would confidently say no. The cake isn't taking her out, and Luffy is in no shape to fight her. That means the only other option is some third party coming in to attack her while she is vulnerable. I think this could definitely happen. Maybe CP0 launches a sudden attack at the end of this arc, maybe the Marines. All I'm saying is that I don't think Big Mom herself is going down this arc, because at this point it's basically been signposted for us that Luffy is going to beat her someday. Luffy has stated over and over again that he's going to beat Big Mom. He said it at Fishman Island, he said it again at Punk Hazard, he said it again at the end of Dressrosa, and he said it twice just this arc. The second time to Katakuri with such conviction that it was as though Luffy was declaring the future itself. So far, every time Luffy has said that he's going to beat a certain opponent, it has happened. We see this with Crocodile, with Lucci, with Moria, with Doflamingo. It's just a constant of this series at this point. So Luffy is beating Big Mom, which means that she is not going down this arc. So the next thing people have assumed is that, okay, so if it's not this arc, well then next arc we probably have Reverie, and then after that we have Wano, so Big Mom must be going down after that. Luffy's been saying he's gonna come back and beat Big Mom, so maybe we have Totaland round 2, or maybe it happens in Elbaph. At the moment, I have a hard time believing that we've had this 80 chapter long arc that's gotten this intense, and just all of a sudden we're gonna put this entire conflict on pause, go over here and do something else entirely for 100 to 200 chapters, and then finally come back over to the Big Mom conflict and start it all over again. All the momentum of this conflict would be lost, and it would have to be built back up again. And for what? For another 100 chapter long arc devoted to a war with Big Mom again? It's repetitive, it's tiresome, it feels like very inefficient storytelling, and honestly it's going to pad the series out for another 3 years. Especially if we go back to Totaland. For each arc, Oda tries to make the uniqueness and the creativity of the location as much a part of the experience as the story itself. Totaland Round 2 just doesn't seem to fit his style, because this magical Alice in Wonderland type fantasy location that we got to experience this arc would no longer be fresh. It would be a retread of something that we've already spent a long time on. As for Elbaph, which is probably the most popular theory, I'm going to save my thoughts on that for a later section in this video, when I can contrast it to other points that I'll be bringing up in a second. But generally speaking, both of these theories mean a loss of momentum for the Big Mom conflict, and it would be tiresome and repetitive to start an arc over all the way from scratch with Big Mom again as the sole villain. So just keep what I said about momentum in mind, because I'm going to switch topics. So this is really why I started thinking of this theory. I feel like Oda has always been building up Kaido and Big Mom as a duo. I'm not saying they're a team, and I'm not saying that they're going to team up. What I'm saying is that their destiny in this story has been linked together since the first time that we heard their names, and that the end to both of their stories will likely come at the conclusion of this Versus 4 Emperors saga. We can trace their subtle connection all the way back to Thriller Bark, because Thriller Bark was basically a preview for this current Versus 4 Emperors saga. In Thriller Bark, Oda first starts telling us about Kaido and how he once massacred Moria's crew. On top of this, we meet Lola, and she gives Nami Big Mom's Vivre card, and this is our first reference to Big Mom in the series. On top of that, we meet the legendary samurai Ryuma from Wano, who passes on his sword to Zoro. We even have a wedding plotline similar to what just happened, and we even have zombies which parallel homies, and even some of the imagery overlaps as we saw recently. Thriller Bark was basically a teaser for this entire Versus 4 Emperor saga that's happening right now, and Oda was planting the seeds for this future Kaido and Big Mom conflict all the way back then. Now fast forward to the New World. How does it begin and what patterns emerge? First at Fishman Island we are exposed to Big Mom. We learn that this is her territory, we meet her underlings for the first time, and we generally feel the influence of Big Mom in the story for the first time. By the end of the arc, Luffy has declared Big Mom his enemy, and so that future conflict has been set up. The very next arc is about Caesar and the production of SAD, and we quickly learn that Caesar is basically the bottom link on a chain that leads all the way up to Kaido. The end of Punk Hazard has Luffy basically signing on to an alliance to take down Kaido. And so just like that, day one of the New World, we've been set on a course to eventually take down these two villains. The next arc, the crew is going after Kaido's main dealer Doflamingo, and we're basically seeing the Straw Hats take on one of Kaido's main subordinates. But at the same time, Big Mom's influence overlaps as her ship shows up at Dressrosa, and she is demanding Caesar back as well. So at Dressrosa, we feel the looming threats of both Kaido and Big Mom, as the Straw Hats have pissed both of them off. Finally, we get to Zou, where we are given two flashbacks. The first is Kaido related, as we learn about how Jack laid waste to Zou. Then the next is Big Mom related, as we learn how her crew showed up to kidnap Sanjay and Caesar. It's just constant juxtaposition of these two villains that have been hanging over our heroes' heads ever since they entered the New World, basically being built up as major problems simultaneously. We feel the parallel influences of both of these Yonkou at every turn, their presences being felt in each arc of the story till finally at Zou we are given our main goal for the saga. The picture is explicitly painted out for us. The two main villains of this saga, Kaido and Big Mom side by side, the two emperors who have been built up concurrently this entire time just happen to be holding the road poneglyphs, the keys to get to the final phase of the story, which is of course actually finding One Piece. Zou ends with us being told, hold on. Before they head over to Kaido's over here for the big war, they're heading over to Big Mom's for a minor side quest first. We've had these two conflicts with these two villains brewing the entire time that we've been in the New World, developing side by side. Kaido being the primary conflict, Big Mom the secondary conflict. I think the ultimate purpose of Whole Cake Island was to bring Conflict B over to Conflict A. Okay, so even if you're not with me so far, just humor me, and let's try and look at Whole Cake Island with this mindset, that the goal of the arc was to bring Big Mom over to the Wano conflict. Alright, so what exactly happened in Whole Cake Island? What was the purpose of all the events in this arc? We got Sanjay back and some development for his character as well. We picked up Jinbei, Luffy improved his observation haki, but how did this arc move the story forward? Well, as established at the beginning of the saga, the main thing the Straw Hats need at this point is road poneglyphs, one from Big Mom, one from Kaido, and we've actually checked that off at this point. Picking up Big Mom's road poneglyph, accomplished. So other than that, the main thing that the Straw Hats have accomplished this arc is basically ruining Big Mom's life by destroying everything that she cares about. Let's take a quick rundown of everything that's happened to Big Mom this arc. First of all, what was Big Mom's goal this arc? Well, the entire New World is in an arms race. The Blackbeard pirates are hunting down Devil Fruit users. The Beast pirates are basically creating an artificial zone army and also building up chemical weapons. Big Mom's current scheme was acquiring new technology. The entire wedding scheme that she so elaborately planned was to get her hands on Germa 66's futuristic technology to bolster her power because she wants to be Pirate King. Her scheme to get the giants on her side failed, and so she set her sights on technology. This power move that she set up was ruined by Luffy and his crew, so Germa 66 and their technology, gone. Okay, but that's not too bad, right? She's still one of the 4 emperors of the sea, with unassailable military might, right? Not so much anymore thanks to Luffy. Jinbei and the Sun Pirates. Gone, joined the Straw Hats. Capone Beige and his crew. Gone, escaped with the Straw Hats. Sweet Commanders. She's got one left. Not to mention that she's also downed countless soldiers and ships. But it's not so bad if no one finds out about this, right? Well, considering this guy just escaped with some big news, her reputation worldwide is going to be in shambles. Okay, that's not so bad. She can recoup from these losses. This is all fixable somehow. Except what about something priceless? What about something irreplaceable? What about something that she holds closer to her heart than anything else? Something so precious that just the thought of it being damaged would send her into a hysterical state. How about the last photo of Mother Carmel? Gone, destroyed by the Straw Hat crew, as Luffy gleefully shows her. Oh, well, that's just terrible. At least she still has the dream that her mother left her. That's right, at least Big Mom has her dream of a wonderful world where she can sit with her family all eye to eye as equals. A dream requiring gigantification. A dream that she has poured a lot of funding into and went to great lengths to retrieve a certain scientist for. Oh wait, that dream's gone as well, escaping thanks to the Straw Hat crew. Okay, so they took that dream from her, but what about her other dream? What about Totoland? The utopia where all races can live together. Well, Totoland was a happy, peaceful place where everyone lived under Big Mom's protection, gladly sacrificing their lifespans for the security of living under a Yonkou. That is, until the Straw Hats destroyed Big Mom's cake, sending her on an uncontrollable rampage throughout her dream nation, destroying islands, sending the citizens into fear, waking them up to how dangerous this place actually is. And suddenly we see citizens questioning if they want to live in a Yonkou's territory anymore. Big Mom's dream nation, not gone yet, pending collapse due to the Straw Hats' actions. But you see what I'm getting at. At every turn, Oda has made the Straw Hats anger Big Mom more and more, taking everything that she cares about and ruining everything that she cares about. Just breaking the photo of Mother Carmel would have been unforgivable, but Oda's had them do so much more. And it just feels so deliberate, so purposeful, just piling on offense after offense, because Oda even gives us minor moments like this. Stussy offhandedly informing Montior that, oh, by the way, want to hear something interesting? And she reveals that even the explosion that ruined the Tea Party and destroyed Whole Cake Chateau, Big Mom's home, even that was caused by the Straw Hats' Tamatebako. She didn't need to tell them that. Oda's just adding fuel to the fire. I just feel like the goal that Oda was working towards was that by the end of the arc, Big Mom has lost everything that she cares about, her empire is in the middle of collapse, she's pissed beyond belief, and the Straw Hats are the root cause of it all. Basically enough motivating factors to make Big Mom chase the crew. And Oda made sure that Big Mom knows exactly where they're going. Luffy announced to her that he's currently going after Kaido, so she knows that she can find the Straw Hats in Wano even after they escape. Now I know what you're thinking, maybe the purpose of making Big Mom so mad was just to make the conflict intense when Elbaph comes around. I don't think so because that wasn't necessary in the first place. Big Mom has already wanted to crush Luffy since Fishman Island. That animosity was already established, and we already see at the start of Whole Cake Island that she has not forgotten that vendetta. So there was no need to make her more mad at Luffy. She already disliked the Straw Hats enough that if they ever crossed paths, she would want to crush them. So then why did Oda devote this entire arc to making Luffy destroy everything that she cared about? Because he had to make it so that Big Mom would pursue Luffy no matter what. He had to make it so that her singular goal in this world would be the annihilation of the Straw Hat crew. Basically, if you think of everything that Luffy has done to Big Mom this arc as motivating factors, adding up one after another to the point that she would never forgive him, to the point that she would even pursue him to the territory of another Yonkou, then suddenly the purpose of this arc becomes a lot more clear. Take away everything Big Mom has, make her chase Luffy, get her to Wano. Now of course when we last saw her she was still euphoric from eating the cake, but I'm talking about now that the cake is over, after she's no longer in this blissful state, after the Straw Hats make their inevitable escape and she finds out. When that happens, after everything that's happened this arc, why would she not go after them? So back to what I was talking about in terms of momentum. It feels like we're already in the middle of Big Mom's collapse. Her top fighters are dropping, she's losing large parts of her fleet, many of her strongest fighters have abandoned her. It feels like the dominoes are already falling. It almost wouldn't make sense for Big Mom to survive several hundreds of chapters till the next Big Mom arc. I mean, in her vulnerable state, her crew should be crushed by another Yonkou or the Marines. I think it makes more sense if the bleeding Big Mom pirates on their last legs chase the Straw Hats to Wano, where we can see the fully assembled Straw Hat pirates plus their allies take on the Big Mom pirates collectively, before moving on to the Beast pirates who are still at full strength. I just think it fits better than Big Mom being taken down in a later arc, because in that case we'd have had Kaido and Big Mom's conflicts built up neatly side by side from day one in the New World, And then what we have is, well, we start Big Mom's conflict, and we spend 80 chapters on that, and then suddenly pause. We're not doing that anymore. We go over to Kaido's conflict for, 100 to 200 chapters, and then when that's finally over with, we go back and restart the Big Mom conflict from square one for another, 100 chapters? Instead, what if we had these two plot lines that have been developing side by side since day one of the New World converge organically? And the best part is that they're converging thanks to Luffy's actions. So having said that, let me break down why I disagree with the Elbaph theory, considering the kind of writer Oda is. If Big Mom had some secret plans for Elbaph in the future, I believe he would have hinted at that somewhere in this arc. What we are told is that she already had an Elbaph plan, but that's dead and gone. It's over. Germa was her new project and Luffy ruined that. There's no story momentum at this point that takes Big Mom to Elbaph. Nothing happened this arc that motivates Big Mom to go attack Elbaph. I know what you're thinking. If that's the case, then why the hell was Big Mom's story tied to Elbaph in the first place? Well, there are a lot of reasons. First of all, going into this arc, many people believed that Big Mom was the weakest Yonkou. Oda was probably aware that he had given Big Mom the least hype out of the four emperors up till this point. So, having Big Mom wreck the giant warriors of Elbaph, who've been built up since Little Garden, as a 5-year-old, was one of the most effective ways possible to show to the reader that she is a monster among monsters and not to be underestimated. So partially Elbaph served as a hype tool for Big Mom. Second, the Straw Hats are eventually going to Elbaph, and Big Mom's flashback gives us a small preview and understanding of Elbaph before actually going there. We get some background on the giant pirates that have joined the Grand Fleet, seeing Hadruden's childhood, Stanson, hearing the birth of the other giant pirates. We learn about the giant Prince Loki this arc, and we learn a bit about the history of the giants. So we basically get a lot of context around Elbaph before heading over there. Lastly, Big Mom is established as a hated enemy of the giants. A lot of people have assumed that this means that the Straw Hats will eventually be saving Elbaph from Big Mom. But again, as I said, nowhere in this arc did Oda set up for any sort of future conflict between Big Mom versus the giants. Okay, so then why make such a big deal of the giants hating Big Mom? Well, I think that there's been a bit of a pattern in the New World. Whenever the Straw Hats show up to an island with a special race, Oda makes it so that the Straw Hats are in good terms with that race right away, and makes them welcome guests despite being humans. He does this by making sure that the Straw Hats have done some sort of a favor beforehand. At Fishman Island, all the mermaids already like the Straw Hats and saved them from drowning, because the Straw Hats saved Kami pre-timeskip. On top of this, right away the Straw Hats get an invite to Ryugyu Palace, because the royal family owes them for saving Shirahoshi's shark, Megalo, on the way to Fishman Island. At Zou, it's the same thing. Of course, the Straw Hats saved the minks from the chemical gas. But before the Straw Hats had even set foot on the island, the minks already considered the Straw Hats to be their saviors for defeating Doflamingo, which in turn led Jack away from Zou. Following that pattern, the Straw Hats defeating Big Mom and Wano would make them heroes in the eyes of the giants, which in turn would make them welcome visitors in Elbaph once they get to that arc as well. Honestly, to me, that's the simple reason that Oda established that giants hate Big Mom. Nothing we saw this arc really sets us up for a future Big Mom versus giants conflict. Really, all we saw was that Big Mom wants them on her side, but they hate her, so that's not happening. I think what's more consistent with what we've seen is that the Straw Hats were VIPs at Fishman Island the moment they showed up, because the mermaids and the royal family were in their debt. The Straw Hats were VIPs at Zou the moment they showed up, because the minks were in their debt. And I think after the Straw Hats defeat Big Mom, they will be VIPs in Elbaph the moment they show up, because the giants will be in their debt. Okay, so now I've given the reasons for why I think the story's headed this direction, but how the hell is Wano gonna work with so many characters and villains? Well, maybe it's supposed to be bigger than we can imagine. At the start of this saga, what are we told is coming? Kaido says, let's start the greatest war this world has ever seen. Doflamingo tells us we are about to kick off the greatest battle for power in the history of mankind. And Oda himself, at Jump Festa in December 2017, said that the Wano arc is going to make Marineford look cute in comparison. The Marineford War between a Yonkou crew and the entire Marine forces plus the Shichibukai is about to look cute in comparison to what's coming in Wano. If the Wano War is being hyped to be this unprecedented level of conflict on a scale that we've never seen before in this series, then the involvement of multiple Yonkou would actually meet that level of hype. This is meant to be bigger and more exciting than anything we've seen so far. Also consider that on the good guys side, we have the Straw Hats, we have the Heart Pirates, we have several Samurai Rebels, we have the Minks, we have possibly Marco and the remnants of the Whitebeard Pirates being brought in, we have definitely several supernovas in the mix, and possibly the Grand Fleet being called upon. With all these characters on the Straw Hat side, it's almost as though going up against two emperors makes sure that there's enough fights to go around. Now maybe this is too much. I mean, how is Oda going to handle all of these characters? Dressrosa was particularly chaotic because there were so many running storylines. Sure, that's definitely a potential problem, but just because we as the readers recognize that this could be a potential problem doesn't necessarily mean that Oda recognizes that this could be a potential problem. If he believes that he can handle a conflict of that size, if he thinks that that's the most exciting route for the story to go, and if that's what he wants to draw, then that's what's going to happen. And remember, no matter what, the final war is going to be even bigger than this anyway. As people have speculated, the final war would probably involve the Straw Hats, the world government, the Blackbeard pirates, maybe the Red-Haired pirates, definitely the revolutionaries, maybe some supernovas, and probably a lot of the kingdoms and allies that the Straw Hats have built up over the years. So it's kind of like, well, Oda is eventually going to have to handle a conflict that's much bigger than this Kaido Big Mom situation that I've been talking about. So if you think that the Wano arc would be too bloated with two emperors involved, well then how would Oda even finish this series? If anything, this feels kind of like a necessary stepping stone to getting to that point. Like first trying a war arc with just two emperors involved, and then basically the final war would involve all the remaining superpowers. And speaking of stepping stones, I think this provides a very neat opportunity for growth for the Straw Hats. The Straw Hats have just beaten the Don Quixote family. Their captain can now take out Yonkou first mates, they have a giant fleet at their disposal, they are probably positioned as the 5th strongest crew in the New World at this point. The next step is taking out the Yonkou, but there is a clear gap right now. There's no way they can beat a Yonkou crew straight up, even with their fleet. But what if they started against a heavily weakened Yonkou crew? The Straw Hats never had any hope of defeating the entire Big Mom pirates with just half their crew. As Nami said, they would have brought the others if they wanted to fight straight up. But by the end of this arc, the Big Mom pirates are severely weakened, they've lost 2 of their commanders and a large portion of their forces. If the Big Mom pirates were to come to Wano, where the rest of the Straw Hat crew is waiting along with a lot of their other allies, then that would be a much more manageable challenge. Basically, the Straw Hats have to take down Yonkou crews, but they can't do that at the moment, so how about they start with a nerfed Yonkou crew? If the Big Mom pirates showed up to Wano in their weakened state, think about how nicely and reasonably the matchups can kind of play out. Considering Luffy only just barely beat a Yonkou first mate, Zoro's not going to be ready to do that yet. So what if Zoro's first big fight is not a first mate, but still a Yonkou commander? How about the strongest remaining Big Mom pirate, the swordswoman Smoothie? Considering how much trouble Luffy had with Cracker, Sanjay's probably not ready to beat a Yonkou commander just yet. So what if his first big fight is someone who's just bordering that level, maybe former commander Snack? We could see some excellent progression for the Straw Hat crew as they first take on the heavily weakened Big Mom pirates before then moving up to the full strength Beast pirates. Am I saying this is just going to happen back to back in one day? Definitely not. I think Wano is probably set up to be the longest arc in the series that we've had yet, and will probably span many, many days. I'm not saying this is just all for one big fight after another big fight. I'm sure that there is a great story to be told in this country. I know people are already typing Luffy's not strong enough in the comments, and I'm not going to get into Luffy versus Big Mom or Luffy versus Kaido here. I know Luffy is nowhere near their level at the moment. I don't know what circumstances will allow him to beat them, whether they be handicapped, whether it's a team effort, whether Luffy rapidly progresses in strength. Bottom line is he's not fighting either Yonkou tomorrow. The final battles of Wano will probably be hundreds of chapters down the road, with plenty of time for progression. So am I crazy to think this will happen? I think Big Mom is heading to Wano. I think this will be the biggest war of the series so far. I think it ends with Big Mom and Kaido both taken out, and I think we move on to the final phase of the story after all of this is said and done. I'm giving myself a very generous, very vague time limit for this theory being confirmed. I think Whole Cake Island could easily end with Big Mom declaring that they're going to chase after the Straw Hats. I also think that we could just hear about this development halfway through Reverie. Or maybe partway through Wano, we finally hear that Luffy has shown up with Big Mom on his tail. So I'm not really giving myself a set time limit on when this theory will be confirmed or rejected. I think we'll be able to tell one way or another in the next year. But we'll have to wait and see. Let me know what you all think below. I have my fingers crossed for this theory because I really don't want to put the Big Mom conflict on pause and then wait 5 years for it to start up again. And lastly, if you enjoyed this video, then please like, share, and subscribe.